Welcome to Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast, your weekly dose of many discussions and opinions, a show where we get comfortable being uncomfortable. And remember, no topic is off limits. Now let's talk about it. So, all right, guys, welcome back to another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I am your host, Misty, and today we have an exciting episode. We have an amazing guest coming on board from a pretty dope podcast. I love the platform you have created. And so I'm going to open up the mic for you to be able to introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm Marcy from Comadreando Podcast. I'm the host. I am a mother. I am a teacher. I am a Mami Chula from the Mami Chula Social Club. And Dominicana from the Heights. ¿Qué más? Nothing. I don't know what else.
Like as if that's not enough.
No, they
God.
call me todóloga, like all my friends, the ladies from my salon and all the ladies from the social club, because I'm literally have my hand in everything. So
I love the concept of the salon, and I love that you talk about that, because that is my safe haven. When I have my friends. I have my best friends. My best friends know I talk to them about things. But I really feel like the person I always catch up with is my girl from the salon that is taking care of me, that she's there for me. And like, we just know each other. Like, it is a different level of knowing each other. And it's so true because there on the next chair is the other person I've never met, and I'm getting to know her there the entire time I'm there. And somehow we can relate to each other, and somehow we can talk with one another. And you never know who you meet. It's in the neighborhood. Turns out we have our kids in the same school.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much when it comes to the salon. And for those of you who don't know what a salon is, it's literally the salon where you go. It's I like to call it like the community culture right there. People are getting their hair done, manicures, pedicures. I mean, you name it. What isn't happening at the salon, right? Yeah. And so when you think of that concept, right, it's just wonderful to really meet someone there and for things to come out of that, like including friendships. Yeah. So I love that concept 1,000%. Yeah. Can you give a little bit of light to Comadreando Podcast and the name itself? Because I've definitely said the name here before. Yeah. But just give a little bit of light for my listeners to understand a little better.
Okay. So Comadreando basically is your virtual comadre time. So the concept came out of the fact that I grew up seeing my mom and her best friend get together. They wouldn't get together all the time. They would get together once or twice a month. And the kids would play, right? We would all be in our rooms playing, talking, and then they would have their own comadre time. So their comadre time consisted of so we would be playing in the rooms or whatever, and my mom and my aunt would be in the kitchen, and I was the oldest, so I would always be entremetida, like trying to be in the kitchen and like know all the tea, and they would always kick me out. They'd be like, no, it's comadre time. Only the comadres can hang out. And I would have to leave. But I started doing that with my best friend as we got older and we became moms. So we would catch up and talk about all the things that we couldn't talk about over the phone, because we would talk every day. This is like my best friend. We went to kindergarten together. We didn't know each other. Like, actually, she had a picture of me because I was like a doofball. Like, I was like a nerd. I was like running behind her, and she was like posing for a photo. Her mom snapped a picture as I was like running behind her. I had these crazy bangs because, I have curly hair. So my mom like used to like comb out my curls. So yo tenía un pajón, and I'm running behind her. And then we met up in high school, and they're like, yo, do I know you from somewhere? And we reconnected that way. But after that, like, as we became adults, when we had children, we just kept on the same tradition of comadre time. So we would sit down and, like, spill the tea and, like, really be intimate with each other and, like, really talk about things that we didn't feel comfortable talking about with other people. So I wanted to bring that, because my friend passed away, actually.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, when I was like 31. It's been 7 years. So I wanted to bring that sense of community and intimacy to my podcast. I wanted to have a platform where parents of children with special needs, and not just parents of children with special needs, but just everybody, had that kind of sisterhood or, friendship where you can get together, and discuss things that you wouldn't feel comfortable sharing with your own family. Like we were talking about this before we started recording, but sometimes with family, they don't really understand where you're coming from, and sometimes you need a person who's non-objective to be able to listen to you and offer you advice, or maybe just be a listening ear for you in that moment of whatever you're going through.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to be very transparent on something. I think it's fair to say that there's different levels to the concept of parenting and motherhood, right? And so, I like when people always say, "Oh, there's always someone who has it worse than you do," and I have sometimes a problem with that phrase because I don't think it's about it being worse, right? When it comes to motherhood and parenting, I think what it has to do with is it being a different journey.
Yes.
Because by saying, oh, they have it, it's one thing about life in general, right? Or like health, right? But when I think about parenting and parenthood and motherhood, I don't like to classify it being worse when my story is different as a mother compared to others, right? I think it's a true misconception sometimes, and it could be very judgmental. And I think what's great is to create a platform where you can have all sorts of conversations when it comes to you being a mother and me being a mother instead of versus.
Yeah.
The you mom, me mom. It's not a versus thing.
Yeah.
It's like there's different things we might experience, yes, different journeys, but there's so much we could probably relate to one another as far as like our feelings go.
Of course.
Right?
And then saying some, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but saying something like that kind of invalidates people's experiences. You can't say like, oh, somebody has it worse than you. You shouldn't be sad. You shouldn't feel depressed. Right. You shouldn't feel whatever. I honestly feel like everybody's feelings are valid, and my experience is different than your experience. We all come from different backgrounds, and the way we handle things is different because we're different individuals. So those experiences are all valid, and I feel like what you're saying, it shouldn't be a versus. I'm like a girl's girl. Yeah. I'm supporting women. I don't care what you want to do. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm the same thing with moms. Like if your type of if the way that you're mothering is different than mine, then so be it. You know what I'm saying? But it I want to provide that sense of community, and to be able to bounce ideas off each other and kind of be like, oh, I didn't think of it that way.
That's so amazing, Marcy. I really appreciate you even being so transparent with that again, because I don't think a lot of us have the voice or the microphone to be able to do so. And I do think it's on us to be able to create those platforms and bring people to the table to have those type of uncomfortable discussions, and make it normal to be comfortable in that uncomfortability, because we're so often as mothers made to feel like you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to admit that. Why would you? Oh my God. It's like all of a sudden, if I say the wrong thing according to God knows who, I'm the wrong mom. I'm the bad mom. I'm the bad person. And I personally do not like that. So thank you for that clarification. You guys are going to have the show notes and the links to her show. And I definitely want you guys to go support that. Also, fun fact, I'm very huge with the name of the Comadreando because of what Comadre means. Very much so for me, La Comadre is, the person who is the godmother to your child, but it's more to that, right? So when I look at who my comadres are, we're either cousins or sisters, but essentially it is about having that best friendship in that person, that you can go to one another and truly trust in them so much and have that moment with them, that vulnerable moment. And I can honestly say I'm very blessed that when I think of who are my comadres, we have an intimate moment ever so often, and you can't take that for granted. And you're supposed to be able to say, you have your sister, you have your person, you have all those people, but is that comadre that you just have a bond? It's just a mutual understanding, excuse me. So I love the concept itself and the name. So we're going to go right into the raw mess of the week. On the show, we always open up the show with this. And it's not necessarily so messy, but I definitely want to bring to the table because it was something that was definitely all over social media. And it's not something that is strange to what I like to call our regular, degular, schmegular people, like Cardi B calls us, right? I'm a regular, regular, schmegular mom. So are you. I mean, I think we're special, but, regular, regulars, from the hood, I love that you say you're from Washington Heights. Listen, I'm not going to give the former address where I grew up, but I mean, Webster, between Webster and Jerome, 174. Yeah, that was my hood. That's where I grew up. So we know a little bit about what it is to grow up with familiarity and different dynamics in family, right? And so I am a single mother. And having to share birthdays and things like that and visitations.
I just rolled my eyes. I'm sorry, guys. You couldn't see that.
I know. It's really hard. And for my story now is his father lives in a completely different state. So it was a transition into having to be okay with him flying by himself. Having to be okay with sharing a whole summer without him, having to sacrifice sometimes certain trips that I normally used to take because his vacation would become visiting his dad, right? Kanye West went on a rant recently about his daughter's birthday, saying that he was looking for the birthday party. Kim Kardashian wouldn't tell him where it is. He didn't want his baby child, Chicago, thinking that he didn't remember her birthday or he wasn't going to be there. And he's doing things to be able to be there. I don't know if you heard, he even bought the house across the street from Kim to be, close. And it made me think a little bit, right? I know they got money. I know they're famous. I know all of that. But in the concept of having to separate, divorce, and now having to share custody, in their case is 4 children. Mine is just one. I come to the terms of where are we today in life as far as the sharing of the custody? Like, are people not having separate birthdays? Are we still trying to lead with the concept that it's best to share the custody and share the birthdays, share all sorts of different levels of co-parenting? Because at that point, forget that Kanye is famous. Forget that Kim is famous. That's a mom and a dad. To Chicago, that's mom and dad. Our kids, we think about what is to their benefit. What would they want? Do they want to see their parents together in special events like that or not? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? And I'm not trying to make it messy, but it's a reality, y'all.
No, so the fact that they're famous, let's just take that out of the equation. I feel like it was messy, especially because of the fact that they might not be completely healed from their breakup. Clearly, Kanye is feeling a certain way about it, Mm-hmm. And it's reflecting. And for me, what should have happened is that maybe Kanye should have had his own celebration for Chicago on his own. Just because of the fact that they don't have that relationship yet where they're cordial to each other. That takes a long time to work out, and they're not there yet. Clearly, he needs to go to, I've been saying he needs to go to therapy for a minute. I mean, before he got with Kim. But he needs to go to therapy. I think she does too, because that's kind of petty. Like, what she did is a little petty for me. I don't know. Pero también, como te digo, he's not roti. Not everybody's going to like him. And if she doesn't want to hang out with him for her child's birthday, that's okay. Because that's another thing. I'm like, everybody knows me on the show. When they watch the YouTube channels, like, I cannot hide my expressions on my face. And I try really, really hard. But if my son's father were to roll up at his birthday and we didn't, like, let's say it was the beginning of the divorce, right? And he were to just show it up, pop up like that, I wouldn't be able to hide my face. Like, my face would be like completely, not disgusted, just like in a bad mood. And I wouldn't want to bring that energy around my child, personally.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know dads that like really want to be around their children, and like they really resent the fact that they have to be like a weekend dad. I've dated a couple of them, and I know it's hard, but also like we have to think about what's best for the child. If you don't have that relationship with the child's mom where you can be cordial to each other and share with each other, then it doesn't have to be that way. It could be another way. There's not only one way to parent, I can say that, like, out of all the moms that I know that are divorced, I feel like one mom of my friends has a really good relationship where they actually do Thanksgiving together. The dad brings his girlfriend, she brings her boyfriend, and she's like un ejemplo a seguir. I'm not there yet, pero Dios la bendiga. I love her. She's like one of the innovators, like of like momming, I guess. at least divorced momming, because I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. You know what I'm saying? Pero no sé, like eso estaba.
I have to admit, you know how you said Kanye needed help like way before Kim. When things were going like spiraling while he was with Kim, and Kim kept saying like, you know, it's not on her, whatever. I'm gonna be very honest. You guys already know we get real uncomfortable here with a lot of my opinions, right? And compared to a lot of unpopular, more so popular opinions that it's all on him. I feel that her as his wife, she also had a part in
Claro.
a lot of his spiraling too, right? I do feel that way. But now that they have entered into separation and divorce, and they're doing exactly what needed to be done for their mental health, both of them, because they were both doing this damage, right? At this point, I also need him, like you said, to give her time now too. Because as a woman, and this is the part where I have to be a woman, right? And I have to see it from her lens as well. I remember in the beginning of my divorce, my child was still very, very young. I forced myself to have to be comfortable in certain situations all for my child. You know, my parents were at war with him. My family was at war with him. And I used to have to fight for the whole, we're going to keep it respectful. We're going to keep it cordial because it's for my son, right? And we were successful at that, which is great. But reflecting now on how uncomfortable certain instances were for me, and I did it to keep the peace, right? I realize now that I did more damage to myself and to my healing, and I was causing myself more anger than anything. And so, fast forward to today, you know, we co-parents very well. We recently, very transparently, had a bit of a setback because there was a lot of miscommunication going on. But you know what? At this point, I did refuse to have to make myself uncomfortable. I did refuse to ever feel the way that I did 10 plus years ago. I wanted to make sure there was certain levels of boundaries too, so I can keep leading my peaceful life. And I feel like I'm on Kim's side here. I too would not have given him the address to the birthday party. You want to spend time with her? Great. Let's agree on when you can spend time with her for her birthday. Do your thing with her. But Kim also has to be okay. A woman also has to be okay with her peace and her levels of happiness or anger, her emotions. You have it, because a divorce is not easy, neither is a separation. And it's really hard to keep, like you express, the facial expressions intact in front of your kids too. Like, it's so hard to do that. So I agree with you. It was totally messy, in my opinion. And I definitely wanted to open up the show with that conversation. Because again, take away their millions. At the end of the day, they're still people, and there's still parents, and there's still kids involved. And it's a real conversation we do have to continuously have and be comfortable with it. As a woman, I no longer like the fact that us women were constantly being made to feel like we have to always comply, you know? And that part, I gotta give it to Kim. I know eventually he did show up to the party, and I hope it was safely on her terms and her peace. Because at the end of the day, that is her family, that is her home, and that is her children too. And she also has to think about her sanity as well. So great, great points on that. Thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna jump right into our first segment, which is As Raw as It Gets, and I'm gonna co-title it "Marcy Keeps It Raw," right? Because I have heard your show, and I want to be able again to further expand just how comfortable we're gonna get with this conversation. When it comes to your parenting and your mothering, right? You're also an educator, but I consider you're an educator times two, because you are, yes, an educator, but you have your child at home. That your parenting is different from mine, right? To a certain extent. How is that life for you of having to also be an educator for him, an advocate for him?
Um, it's. I feel like I've gotten better with time. At the
Okay.
beginning, it was really hard because just balancing. Okay, so so I work the schools I work in.
Yeah.
They really criticize parents that are not there for their children, the ones that don't show up to parent teacher conferences. And I'm not saying
Oh.
like administration; it's more like teachers. And there was one of the people I follow, she posted something like, oh, who was it? It was, she wrote a book. She wrote Malcriada. What is her name?
Wait, I've seen that book. Oh my God, what is her name? Oh my God. I have to yet read it. It's on my list.
All right, look it up.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Oh my God. I know what the name. Oh. Hold on. It's like at the tip of your tongue. Lorena Vila?
Thank you. Lorena Vila.
Yes.
Posted a reel, and that it was like the audio is like, and the woman was too shocked to speak, and she's like doing a fist, but then the caption she wrote in that is Anglo-Saxon, non people of color who criticize parents for not showing up to parent-teacher conferences. They can't afford to pay a babysitter. They can't afford to take a day off of work. And the fact that they can't show up does not mean that they're a bad parent, you know?
Yeah.
So that, like, there's a dichotomy, right? They expect parents to show up and just, like, do all these things, right? But then if you, as a mom, take time off to take care of your child, or if you as a mom, let's say Aiden last year, his classroom went remote because they had COVID. The principal I was working at last year, she was like, oh, but it doesn't work like that. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have a nanny that I could leave my child with. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Right, so, right. Like, that is just, like, in and of itself is, like, a lot to deal with. Thank God I changed schools. I don't work with that school anymore.
Good for you.
She was a freaking megalomaniac and a narcissist as well. But yeah, but like going back into the question, it's a lot, and it's different though, because like I feel like a lot of the time, because I'm a special education teacher, sometimes I'm like, I wish I had a kid that was like my kid in the classroom, because like, you know, I feel like I work really hard with him to get him ready to, you know, to have the routines and all that, and to be, you know, respectful towards teachers and stuff like that. Because like, even though I am a millennial, I'm very old school in the fact that like I like respect above everything, and treating people with kindness and love. Like, that's how I teach my child. And then even though he, you know, he does have special needs and he does have his moments that he's upset, you know, I make sure that he is, you know, a decent member of society.
Absolutely.
Because going back to the conversation about my best friend that passed away, like, her thing was, before she passed, she was like getting her daughter ready to exist in a world where she's not around all the time, and she wanted to leave somebody that was good for society. And that's basically how I operate, you know. It is hard because sometimes I want to just, you know, I have to like lesson plan and stuff, and he needs attention and all that. But I do, you know, I do as much as I can. I am the mom that sends him with food every day to school. I don't cook every day, guys. I meal plan, but I do send them with hot food every day because I know he doesn't like the school lunch and stuff like that. Like, I do the little, like, certain little things. I'm not gonna tell you I'm like that, like, type A mom, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take a day off of work and go see him and his performance, but I'll participate virtually, you know. So it's like finding the balance that works for me has been a long time coming, but I feel like right now I'm like into the swing of being a mom and doing all these things, especially now that he's gonna be a teenager next year.
Of course, it's exciting.
No.
It's exciting. It is. No, it's exciting. He's still gonna be a baby. For the purpose of clarification to my audience, would you like to elaborate a little bit on what his special needs are?
Okay. My son was diagnosed with autism. I had him evaluated by our neuropsychologist, and the diagnosis with autism, and he also has ADHD. Okay. But I feel like it's not, like, you know, when you think about kids with ADHD, for the most part, like the ones that you see on TV and that you usually interact with, they're like hyper all the time. More, his thing is more like attention. Like but I don't know. Like, it might be a misdiagnosis because I feel like his attention, for the most part, when it's something that he likes, he's like all the way into it. But if it's something that he's not really cool with, he's like, whatever. He's like, oh.
He knows what he likes. He knows what he likes. And that's what's important. When it came to creating the platform that you have, Comadreando, which is great, right? How was it being able to also get comfortable with including that into the conversation and being so open with it for yourself about what your motherhood looks like? for everybody else to hear about it?
I feel like I've been pretty transparent with it for the most part. I don't really hide any parts of myself. Like at work, I don't really disclose a lot because like no, I'm not really cool with people like that. But like they do know my child has autism and all that. But I don't know. I feel like it was a conversation that needed to be had. A lot of people don't speak about the things that they go through, and I feel like every time I met a mom with a child with special needs, either in the school or like moms from Aiden school, it was like, you know, we would have all these conversations that they didn't feel comfortable having with other people. So I kind of wanted to bring that to light and like help other people, because the whole show came about. I was on the show El Salon Chronicles, and that episode that I had got a lot of feedback from people, and they were like, no, we need more Marcy. And they asked me a lot of like intimate questions, because like Mari and Suli and Liz are really good about that. They're really good about that. So you know, through all those questions, it was kind of like parents were like, you know, we want to hear more about that. Like, how is it for her? Like, how does she deal with these things? You know, even like, I did a safety episode with Yadi Gill, and I was talking about things that I hadn't spoken about to anyone, actually, like my son doing like throwing a blanket out the window and running outside. You know, anybody that looks at it from an outside perspective is like, oh my God, you're a terrible mother. Like your child left the apartment. You know.
Yeah.
But it's
the point the finger.
Yeah, it's things that happen, and it's like how it's like you're growing and learning how your child is, and at the same time growing and learning as a mom as well, you know.
Right. And this is exactly why I love so much. For one, you've created this platform for yourself, but then also you are continuing to share your story. So for me, it's an honor to be able to have you here and being so transparent on it. Because I don't talk about this too often, and I think I have mentioned it here on the platform, and this is why I mentioned the whole, someone else has a worse thing, which is why I don't like it, right? With me growing up, I've always been that top A class student, right? The 98s, the 99s, advanced class, the best class, what have you. And yeah, you know, Marcy knows. We're keeping it raw here. Marcy knows, right? And then add that to the neighborhoods we've grown up with, right? Okay. Because let's face it, I don't know about you, but if I used to bring the 98 home, and listen, everybody knows I love La Charo. La Charo is my mother, which, by the way, we're recording on her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to
my mom. Okay, La Charo's my mom. But my mom was very tough with us when it came to school, and very tough with me. To your point, and you brought something to light, I want to share this. First and foremost, I respect my oldest siblings 1,000%. They have led as being role models in this household, regardless if I fight with them every single day. And they are actually godparents to my son, my older brother, my older sister, right? But because they grew up in a household as, you know, the first generation of kids to immigrant parents, and my parents were always working, they made different decisions when it came to school as teenagers, right? Nevertheless, eventually they still got their credentials, they have their full-blown careers today, and they're doing what they need to do for their families, right? But because of that, when I came into high school, the story was different. I remember when my brother and my sister wanted to have a conversation with me about my behaviors in school, because, you know, oh my God, the worst thing I did was have a boyfriend. My grades were perfect, mind you. I was threatened. Like, they threatened my life. They were like, if you do something bad, like 4 of us are going to kick your ass. Mom, dad, me, and Patty. Like, it was like that, right? And they instilled that fear, right? But you know what? To a certain extent, that kept me pushing, even when I left my home, even when I left married, even when I had a kid in towards the end of college. The point was, you're never stopping school, right? But since I was very, very young, my mother always used to look at me and be like, oh, you got a 98, next time you gotta get 100.
Yeah, my mom's the same way.
You went through that. Okay, perfect. I'm glad you're saying this, right? So because of those pressures, right, when I became a mom, I used to tell myself, and I never put these pressures on my kid. If my kid came home with an 80, he got a round of applause. Yeah. He did. I made sure, and I made that promise, right? Until he reached age 7. It was 7. Sorry, 7. And he started having difficulties in class. And I thought it was the class. I thought it was the teacher, because a lot of the kids were having issues. and the teacher was fairly elderly. And we came to find out a few things about her teaching tactics, and we realized this is not okay. To the point that she was grading tests completely incorrect. Like, I would send the test back and say, no, this answer's right. We studied this. And she would have to rectify the test, right? Yeah, it was bad. But then more things started happening with my kid. And we realized that my child, I needed to get him evaluated, and he ended up having an IEP. There were certain difficulties he had in learning and comprehension. And that was a little bit of a hit for me, being a kid that grew up always very excelled. And in this household, there's only 90-somethings and above, right? And so now having to realize that with my child, it's going to have to be a little different, and I cannot project onto him what I grew up in, right? Yeah. And I remember when I started talking about it and making my family understand, right? That, this is going to be a little different, right? He's going to need more time to take tests. The way we study is going to be different. I cannot just sit there and tell. You remember when our parents used to sit there and ask you the same question over and over again the same way, and you didn't get it, and then you would get slapped? Like, I couldn't do that with him, right? Because I would get slapped, and I still didn't understand what he was telling me. I couldn't do that with him, right? But it put into perspective a lot for me, right? As I continue to see his progress throughout the years. Now you're looking at a kid who is in high school. He still gets his extra time. But my kid got a scholarship because he wrote an exceptional essay.
Love it.
My kid, yes, like my kid is making those progress. And so I feel like sometimes, forget someone has a words, is we all have it so different as mothers. And our children, regardless of what it is that a doctor or whomever evaluations want to diagnose them with, at the end of the day, you know your child. You know your child. I know my child, right? And it's so beautiful to me. That's why I'm telling you, the teenage is so exciting, because I think like you're really going to see him grow up even more into his own as a teenager, because I've seen it in what my own child has had to have with his journey, just to see the discipline that has naturally come into play for him on his own without me having to sit there and coach him through it or teach him through certain things. And I'm excited for you. I'm very much so excited for you with that. But I wanted to be transparent on this because, again, we all have different journeys. There are different levels. There are different levels as mothers. When they're ages 1 through 4, we're thinking a million things for them, right? They're about to go to kindergarten, right? But then other things may sometimes happen, and we may make new discoveries. And I love also the fact that when you've decided to speak on your journey, you're also speaking for him. And I want to ask you a little bit about that. This show is sponsored by Queens Infusions, a mompreneur-owned brand that creates terpenes and CBD-infused wellness products. Woman-owned, mompreneur, small business-owned, Queens Infusions wellness products are homemade in small batches from locally sourced ingredients, and they are my absolute favorite. To mellow out, to chill, to enjoy the scent, the taste, ooh, you name it. You don't want to miss this. Go to the show notes, go to Queens Infusions Etsy shop, and at checkout, use DDRT code for 20% off, courtesy of Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. How has that journey evolved for you? That's why I said you're his educator also, but also his advocate. How has that journey been for you, really having a voice for him on his behalf?
When I advocate for him, especially like not only in school, but like with my family, a lot of people have a lot of opinions. And it can be a little, como se dice en español, chocante, like very off-putting, But, like teaching them and being his voice, it's changed over the years. Now it's more like, just like teaching them, especially with the new school that he's at. When he was, when he first started in his 6th grade, I had to basically just teach them how he is and who he is as an individual and advocate for him, because like I felt at the beginning that they weren't giving him a chance or really getting to know him. So I was getting phone calls all the time, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what behavior plans are you putting in place? What are you, like, are you actually trying to get to know him? Or are you just judging him because, he does have autism, and he's, I want to say like mid-functioning, like he's not high-functioning, but he's not like nonverbal and all that. So, what are you trying to do to actually get to know him? So the advocacy has changed a little, but, I really take into account of who he is and as an individual and what would make him happy, and that's where
Yeah.
I lead from.
That's amazing. Oh, notice how you just said that, and this is what again you're like you're warming up my heart, and this is why I love your show. She's speaking feelings. She's speaking really being in tune and knowing her child, and I think a lot of the time being working mothers, and yeah. First of all, shout out to Marcy for being the virtual mom because I'm the queen of emails when it comes to my son's schooling. Okay. I'm the queen of emails. Don't think because you don't see me, you see my mom walking them still to this day, because those are grandbabies. You'll still get an email from me. You'll know exactly who I am. They know my name up in that school. But I love how you said just being so in tune with him and just really knowing him. Because it goes to the point of we're the first educators, we're the first teachers at home, regardless. And a lot of these schools, I know they have a plan. I get it. There's always those plans that they may follow through with, and that's fine. But every child at the end of the day is different. And so I have to be able to curate. We sound like content creators, don't we? Curate to that when it comes to our children too. So I love so much that you just expressed just how in tune you are with who your child is, what his needs are, like really his needs. Because I wish that schools can also lead with that by example and combine it to the expertise that they have in front of them to offer and service our children as well. So love it. Love, 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 love it. I speaking of the education, I want to go into the double or nothing segment.
Okay.
So we said you are an educator, and this is where we're gonna get a little bit more raw on another dose, right? Your journey as a special needs educator, right? How has that been for you, knowing what you know from your own experience and how you service when it comes to your career? How has that journey been for you?
So I want to share with the audience. When I first had Aiden diagnosed, my bachelor's is in business administration and management. I used to work at a very popular bank, and then I got really burnt out. And at the time I got burnt out was after I became a mom, and they're putting all these expectations on me with regards to sales, and I was just kind of like, what's the point? And there was a lot of disconnect because the type of person that I am, I won't suggest something to somebody if I know that it's really not in their best interest. And that's the way that I teach.
Amen.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there was a disconnect there. Then my son got diagnosed. Well, it was just a mess. Okay, so I'm gonna be real. With my son's father, there was a thing of like domestic violence.
Okay.
So it was verbal. Eventually we separated, and then when we separated,
Same, Marcy.
yeah.
Same.
So it was like
Get comfortable here,
it
girl.
was all of that stuff together, right? And then my son gets diagnosed a few months after we separated, and then I took 3 months off. I asked them to demote me from a personal banker to a teller because I needed to have a flexible schedule to be able to take care of my kid. So I took 3 months off of family leave to see how he was responding to the therapies. In that 3 months, it was kind of like the pandemic, but not really because there was no pandemic. So I like reevaluated my life. I was like, I really hate my job. Like,
Yeah.
what can I do that will make me happy? And I remember my first job was a group leader for a summer camp program. And I used to work here in the Heights. So I was 18 and I was working with all the babies. And I was like, I really loved what I was doing then. Maybe I should go into teaching.
Before you continue, do you happen to remember what was the summer camp program's name?
It's from the Children's Aid Society. I used to work at PS8, which is in the Heights here in like around 167 in Amsterdam.
Before Marcy continues, this is why I say you never know. This is Comadreando on a double dose, right? That was my first job, group leading in an after-school program in my elementary school with New York City Mission Society.
Oh my God.
And I did it all the way to age 18. And then I did a summer camp job.
That's
the whole
awesome.
summer.
Yeah.
Amazing. But continue.
So that was my job. Like literally, like I would do the summer camp, I would do the after school, and eventually I started. Like I just remembered like being so happy doing that, like because I was able to be creative. I was able to go out of the box, and I need that creativity to feel fulfilled as a professional. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna apply to do my master's, right? My mom's a teacher as well. I come from a long line of teachers. Like a lot of my aunts are teachers. My mom's a teacher. My cousins are teachers, like everybody's a teacher in my family. So I decided to go back to school. I applied and I got into the master's program. Initially, when I had just had Aiden, I applied for the teaching fellows, but I feel like they were catering more to people that were not like us.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
bring people from the Midwest over here to teach. But yeah, they made me hold on. And then they're like, oh, the funding was cut. You didn't make it. Please apply next year. So whatever. I got into my master's program, and then I applied for the Department of Education, and I got in as an assistant teacher. And when I was thinking about what to major in when I was applying for my master's, Aiden had just gotten diagnosed, and I started thinking about the special education teachers I knew from when I went to school, and I was like, maybe I can change the narrative. You know, maybe I can change the narrative and be an effective policy changer in respect to like integration. Because I remember when I was in school, I don't know if you went through the same thing, I really didn't really interact with the children with special needs in the school. Like they were in a separate wing.
Always.
Completely separate.
They were like
wing.
either at the end of like the hall in the smallest class ever, truly isolated and separated. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you feel that they, and okay, we're getting raw here. Okay. You're talking about 2 New York City based women here. Okay. Do you feel that they used to classify that class as the bad class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Same. Okay. That's exactly what that class was. Yeah.
So quote unquote bad, right?
Yeah. The quote unquote. Yeah. Like you guys don't sit with them. They sit over there. Yeah.
So I wanted to change that narrative. I didn't want my son to be ostracized. You know, I didn't want him to feel like he didn't belong in the school or that he had a completely different experience. So I was like, you know, it starts with me. So I wanted to be a special education teacher. And because, you know, I was there for his early intervention, which is when they provide services to get them up to speed as much as they can before they enter school age. Because I saw all of that, I was like, wow, I really love this. Like, I would love to, like, be a teacher and help babies and you know, school-age children. So when I applied to work as an assistant teacher, I got taken in by District 75, which is a district in New York City schools that specializes for children with special needs. But there's different schools that specialize in different things. And this one that I was working at particularly is really, really good with children with autism. So, you know, like all the way that they teach is like ABA based, which is applied behavior analysis. Like they teach the children replacement behaviors and how to integrate more. And they're all very like arts based as well. So they kind of feed into like those things that they're really, really good at, and like, you know, tailor the teaching around there. So I really love that program. And that's how I chose my specialty. I mean, I still work with obviously children all over, but I feel like the kids with autism really have like a special place in my heart.
That is like so beautiful. You're like, listen, Sundays are like my day to like, we're recording on a Sunday, by the way, are my day to like really turn on the candles and just vibe it out in my home. And one of the things I told Marcy to record this one, because I just knew how meaningful this was going to be. I was like, let's drink it while let's record it while we drink some coffee. And like, we're both having like our mics up, but like, it puts me in a space of just knowing. And I wanted to, it's so crazy. We were going to record a week ago, and you know, pneumonia was like ruining my life. So I'm just not getting my voice back. And it's so funny because what it means to be a mother, it's being recorded for me, right? In my opinion, what I'm bringing to the table right now to the show is being recorded on the day of my mother's birthday. And it's significant to me because no parent is perfect. We just do as perfect as we can and the best that we can, right? And in our children's eyes, at the end of the day, we are perfect. And so my mom, you know, 4 kids, you know, we all can sit there and we put her through shit. Like, let me not even lie, we put my mama through shit. But, you know, because of just knowing who she is as a mom to me, it has helped me so much in the mother that I am today. And this is really what this episode is about. And I love to do things so different, right? You would think I would wait till Mother's Day to do something like this. Absolutely not. Motherhood is like 24/7. This is why we're doctors, we're nurses, we're like everything in the book, right? But there's more to this. There's more to just being a mother It's really being the voice for your child, especially when they're not yet speaking in those early ages. It's just really getting to know them. Like when we're sitting there, we're changing diapers, we're not just cleaning them up. Like we're making eye contact with these kids. Most of the time, we're negotiating with them to stay still so we can even change a damn diaper. Like there's just so much that comes to everything we do as moms. And to hear such an inspiring story of what led you into making this decision and it happening so simultaneously, it's even more meaningful to what your platform is. And I'm just so proud of you, right? But like, you don't need to hear that from me, right? I mean, but it's crazy because again, I don't know this journey personally, but the truth is, it could happen to me tomorrow. And you've created a platform that makes me feel comfortable with topic of conversation that growing up very Latinas in this society has not always been comfortable to talk about. Not in our communities. I'm Ecuadorian. Okay, so like for Ecuadorian cultures, like you really don't, if anybody's going through it, we really don't hear about it. Mm-hmm. They've never even heard of it. You know what I mean? So there's so much to this, and I'm so grateful that you do have this platform to help people be comfortable and transparent with this conversation. One more question for you, because I love that this was your inspiring story. In this entire experience of educator for our children who are not sitting at that bad table, right? Let's specify that. Your son and just your career. What has been just that one toughest experience you've ever had? If any. Let me be fair.
Just like I feel there was there was like a time that I felt very defeated. So Aiden was having issues on the bus, and if it was a kid that was like screaming like high pitch, he would go to the kid and like hug them really tightly to try to comfort them, but it came off like he's like trying to choke them or whatever. So I worked on that, and he doesn't do that anymore. But when he was like 6 years old, he was on the bus. It was like I knew there was a trigger on the bus. I didn't know what, because they didn't let me ride the bus with him. So he started going after this girl, and he would pull her hair. But the girl was bigger than him. She was like in junior high school. She was like down to throw down with Aiden.
Okay.
So girl, they had to take him off the bus. I used to have to leave work early. Like this was like for almost 2 weeks straight. Leave work early. Show up there. Shout out to the teacher. She's actually one of my listeners, Ms. Maddie.
Love it.
Maddie would stay without being paid after school. And I'm not excusing his behavior at all, but like the fact that dealing with my administration at the school, running out, doing that, like it was like a whole week. And by the end of the week, I was so exhausted that I like just broke down and started crying. Like, how can I do this? And I'm getting teary-eyed now. I'm like, how can I do this? How can I continue? And it was kind of like, it was like a dark moment for me. And it's just like I felt like nobody could relate in that moment. And I felt very alone. It was very isolating. Sorry.
Oh my God, I'm not meaning to make her cry, but I appreciate you even being transparent with this, because it's something that a lot of people might be like, that's so small. It's not.
No, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Especially like if you're not ready to deal with something like that. Like I've been very transparent on my platform. Like I have struggled with mental health issues. I actually I wasn't diagnosed as depressed until like my 30s, but I know I was dealing with depression on and off like since I was like 20. In school. I was never on medication or anything like that, but then there came a point after the pandemic actually that it got really, really bad, and I had to like go back to therapy. I had to dump my therapist, switch therapists, and get on antidepressants. And as a Latina, it takes a lot to like admit like, hey, I'm not okay, I need help. And then like it's just like dealing with that, like it seems like a small thing, like you said, but like if you're not in the right headspace to deal with something like that, it can take a toll on you. So definitely, absolutely. So I'm a very big advocate for mental health, and I try to like tell moms like it's okay to ask for help and not to be okay. Like you don't have to have it together all the time,
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that, and thank you for saying that, because the mental health piece is so crucial to our motherhood.
Yes.
We're gonna lead into the last segment of the show because, we're right there. And, it gives an opportunity for the overdose to make this a happy moment. So with the overdose, which is our last segment, we discuss a little bit anything that has made us very, very happy, very, very relevant, overjoyed, or if you want to go on a quick rant, please do so. You have an open platform to do so. It could be absolutely about anything. So hit us with it, Marcy.
Okay. So one of the turning points, I want to say, I was able to connect with Claudia Mendoza, which is the ringleader of the Mami Chula Social Club. That was like a deep moment of joy for me because I was able to connect with a community of women that are really girls. Like I've said this before, I don't know, like the listeners know that there's like some people, some women that feel like it's a competition, right? If I shine, like if I'm shining, you can't shine, blah blah blah, and this is a completely different thing. It's like creating sisterhood, and that's one of the things that has really overjoyed me, like connecting with women, feeding off of that energy, and like really elevating each other in different ways has like really brought me a lot of joy. And when we get together, we do events and things like that, and it's we're shooting the shit and stuff like that, but it's also like it's just so like positive and like uplifting and transformative, and it doesn't matter where you come from or what your background is, but we're there for each other, and it's like really bringing up that sisterhood aspect. So that's something that brings me joy, like on a consistent basis. Like the connections that I've made through the social club have really influenced my life and like pushed me to be more Marcy, if that makes any sense.
More Marcy. Oh, that is amazing. I love it. First and foremost, let me just declare right now, I'm so, so inspired by them as well. And I would love to have them on the show because I do think one of the things I embarked on, and I can definitely add that to this overdose. I've been sharing a little bit of recent journeys here on my platform. And one of them, and I'll elaborate on this, has definitely been truly putting purpose and with intention, who is it that I'm allowing into my space? And that includes from the females, those that have those alike intentions and purpose, because it keeps you so uplifted. And recently I found it truly working a lot closer with women who keep me on track, who keep me motivated, who see me and allow me to see them. And I want to encourage everyone on this really quick overjoyed overdose to really, really take that so seriously. You're not just hearing it from me time and time again, but you're hearing it from Marcy because you just sometimes, even though we don't need to constantly necessarily tell people all the business, but it's kind of nice when people just like see you and they understand you. And some things are better left unsaid, but it's so wonderful when you can feel them. I have my close friends and I adore them. I do. I adore them. I adore my sister. I adore my comadres, right? But in recent weeks, I found myself, excuse me, my voice is like still coming back. I find myself being able to tap into so much of my in-depth experiences and feelings. And I have that to owe it to the women that I've been working with and that they have helped me on specific journeys and guiding me and mentoring me and coaching me. And that's been a different level of, for the sake and the spirit of Comadreando, that's been a different level of Comadreando, to be honest with you. It's something that has been so unmatched. And a lot of them some of them haven't even met a day in person. I've truly been able to do it in conversations just online, just virtually, just in a DM. And it's because so many of us are choosing to be transparent and share our stories and our gems. And there's so much more to it. And I really want to encourage everyone to truly tap into that and to know that it's okay to be selective and to set those boundaries, to keep yourself around those people, the ones that share those alike intentions and purpose, for sure. So thank you for that. Would you like to tell my audience where they can find you and listen to you and follow you, etc.?
Okay, so you guys can find me on all podcast platforms, and the name of the show is Comadreando, Comadreando. You can find me on Instagram at Comadreando Pod, and if you want to send me a comadregram, email me at comadreando@escthenetwork.com. Or slide up into my DMs.
And you guys already know I always include all the good information in the show notes. And I want to thank you, Marcy, so much for agreeing to this recording. And again, just revealing so much and just allowing this moment just with some coffee and a microphone and, with a fellow Bronx girl, to really just really put it out there and keep it all the way raw with audiences that the truth is, I don't know who's going to be able to relate, but I'm sure we're going to hit a few people's hearts. And I appreciate you for that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, guys. And this has been another week and another episode on Double Dose of Raw Talk Podcast. I am your host, Misty, and you guys will tune in next week. Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And we are live on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Make sure to tell a friend to subscribe, rate, and review. Talk to you later. Bye.